Well, hello there. Welcome to the first live stream of 2025. We're here with a special guest. You may not believe who we have, but we have Kris D from COBRA KAI, which is a Netflix show. Started in 2018 with 6 seasons. And if you don't know who COBRA KAI is, that's a show dealing with the old Karate Kid with Ralph Macchio. And we all know who Ralph Macchio is, right? Also, Martin Cove, Peyton List, also Courtney Hengeler, Mary Mauser, Gianni DeCenzo, Thomas Ian Griffith. Who doesn't know Thomas Ian Griffith? If you can't name a Thomas Ian Griffith movie, then you don't know Cobra Kai. Anyway, we really appreciate Kris D. here. Exclusive interview. Well, we actually have an interview, and he's an incredibly talented actor. He's made a name for himself with standout performances in popular series, as we mentioned, Cobra Kai, and films such as Secret Society 3, Till Death, and Surviving Jehovah's Genesis. With a career spanning over 30 films and TV series, Kris has captivated audiences with his versatility and dedication to his craft. Today, we'll dive deep into his journey, inspirations, and future projects. So, without further ado, let's welcome Kris D. Hello, Kris.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for having me. Thank you for everyone tuning in tonight.
You're very welcome. We really appreciate you being on the podcast. And I was speaking to you early, and you said you've been on 17 so far, so it must be pretty fun.
Yeah, each one's definitely a unique, it's got its own vibe and angles. And
Yeah. Um, yeah, that's amazing that you're actually you were in Cobra Kai and you were working with Martin Cove and also Ralph Macchio. So before we discuss anything dealing with that, um, can you tell us what was the moment you realized you wanted to pursue acting as a career? Let's go back to beginning.
well, in 2019, Chris, I made that choice. Maybe not right away, but when I had my first experience, it was as an extra background actor on a film, Sweet Girl, filmed in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It was a Netflix production. Jason Momoa was in it. Lots of other great cast members. But anyway, I caught I caught the bug, I guess, that if well, I had to make a few decisions because I lived in northwest rural Pennsylvania, and if I was going to pursue film, I would have to relocate to South Florida, which is what I chose to do. Uh, like a year and a couple months after that first film experience, I decided that you know, and really the only way to get into the industry was when I got to South Florida. I just started networking among acting and film groups and got involved with the Florida film industry, and they paved the way. They helped me, accumulate the roles, accumulate the credits, network, so on and so forth. So, a big shout out to the Florida film industry. But yeah, it's been a journey of 5 years, and it started with one, and now I think there's 39. And you know what? There's people out there that have far exceeded me, even, and they're super busy in the industry. And those are the people I look up to that, keep me on pace and sharp, if you will, looking for each next opportunity.
Do you think that your first acting role shaped your career at all?
Uh, I can honestly say no. I mean, I was just a baseball fan. I was with hundreds of other people. So basically, not that it didn't shape. I mean, it began my journey. But as far as knowing what I wanted to be as an actor and what characters I wanted to play, I didn't have a clue. I was just taking it all in.
Yeah, I like when you are given a script, like I know you have to go through auditions, but when you're given a script, um, how do you get into character? Like for instance, when you're in Cobra Kai, how did you get into that and meeting Ralph Macchio for the first time? How did that work out for you? What was your reaction, your mindset at the moment?
Well, just to give respect where respect's due, it began in the spring of 2000, you know, last year, the spring of last year. A friend of mine had gotten booked on Cobra Kai as a background cast member. And through our network, he sent me a link. I applied. I got the role. I didn't think I was going to get the role, but at the same time, I did think I was going to get the role. If you're an actor, you get it, or an actress, you get it. Uh, but lo and behold, I did. I got the role. Um, and a true story, the same week I got the role, Chris, I got a phone call for another role. One role, the Cobra Kai, which I had already committed to, was in Atlanta, where I had to be. And 2 days after I made all the arrangements with my job, this, that, and the third, I got a phone call from an agency in Miami, and I had to turn down due to just human inability, if you will. I was going to be a stand-in on Bad Boys 4.
Oh, wow.
So I mean, that it was like a punch in the gut because I love the Bad Boys 4. I love the Bad Boys franchise. I also love Karate Kid and Cobra Kai, and I had already committed. So it was just I wanted to do both, and I would have loved to have had the opportunity, but it just wasn't humanly possible. But that just goes to show you, when it rains, it pours. Sometimes it's kind of feast or famine too, though. On the flip side of the coin.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's interesting with Cobra Kai though. You got like I remember when I first watched Karate Kid. Ralph Macchio was like 15 or 16 years old. I can't believe he's in his 50s or whatever, and he's still going back to his old roots. When you first met Ralph Macchio, what was his attitude towards you? Do you think his on-screen persona is the same as his off-screen persona? Did you notice the Karate Kid outside of his acting, or was he a totally different person?
No, he's totally the Karate Kid through and through to me, Chris. Meeting Ralph, there was a lot of people. There was a lot of action. There were fight sequences going on. So everybody kind of stayed in their lane. So saying that to say I didn't, like get next to Ralph on many occasions. They were shooting scenes, and I was standing back because I wasn't in the scene. But anyway, the opportunity finally came for me have a to be able to have a greeting with Ralph, and it was really surreal, Chris, because I remember when I was 7 years old watching him on screen as the Karate Kid. And I believe actually he portrayed 17, 16, 17 years old. He was actually, I think, 22 or 23 when he had the role. But anyway, all of that just, I'm on the same karate mat with somebody I watched as a kid, and I watched him build the Cobra Kai series, and I'm here with him. It was a very surreal experience, but it's hard to explain it unless you experience it, and the beautiful thing about it, Chris, everybody on that set had that same experience with me, and there's a common bond. I ran into some people at MegaCon over the weekend here that I had the privilege to be on set working with, and it was a great reunion. I mean, the fans showed us a lot of love too. It was great.
I think it's great that you worked with all these wonderful actors like Martin Cove and Liz. Did you get a chance to actually work with Elizabeth Shue as well?
I was afar. So
Oh.
I wasn't in the scenes, any of them with her. No.
And here's something for you. I don't know if you know, but Dee Schneider from Twisted Sister was actually on there as well.
Yep.
Well, Eduardo Deschamps says, "What's up, brother?"
Who said that?
Eduardo Deschamps.
Eduardo. Shout out to Eduardo. We were funny story. I was standing in line waiting for William Zabka to come out and start signing. Martin Cove had already made his approach, and everybody was applauding Martin. And so we're standing there waiting, and I'm paying my own attention, looking around, checking things out. And out the corner of my eye, a photo catches my eye, and it's this green, and I remember it. It was like because me and Eduardo worked together. He's Sensei Team Brazil. Anyhow, that picture caught my eye, and I seen that green, and I looked up, and here's Eduardo standing in line next to me. So and Eduardo and I actually we spent time in Atlanta. You know, lots of time in Atlanta together. Obviously, the last week we all pitched in and got a room. We traveled from South or North Florida up there, so yeah, he was part of that road crew on that last hoorah. I think 5 weeks of filming. Actually, he probably went back after I wrapped.
Well, he said that it was nice seeing you, bro.
Absolutely, Eduardo. Always a pleasure.
Yeah. Um, yeah, this Cobra Kai series has been around for a while, and even Kim Fields from Facts of Life was on it. So I'm very happy with the fact that it was a great series. It is a great series. I like watching. I saw a few episodes. Um, yeah, I followed Ralph Macchio's career for a while. Um, Chris, how do you approach improvisation in your roles? Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, that's really a gift from heaven when you have a director that's willing to allow you to improv, to kind of shoot from the hip, if you will. Because by this time you're in character, and it's all there, and you just you kind of let her rip. And worst thing that happens, cut and try it again.
Yeah, do you find that if this like you forget your words from a script that you would make up something
Uh,
and it's kept or is it cut on the floor and kept on the floor?
you know, and again, with a good director, you're going to remember your line. You'll have a script supervisor that'll give you the line. But again, sometimes you're given that liberty to kind of off script yet ad lib. Put what you want in there to fill the gap in the what you feel like
Do you remember
missed.
what do you remember what your most challenging role is? One that was so difficult?
Yeah, I played a role in Obedience, a film by Darian McGee. Appreciate Darian McGee and that opportunity. Um, I played a general, a kingpin drug dealing general, and he was also a racist. So it was
Mm.
extremely challenging to create that mentality to be that character. You know what I mean? Because yeah, it was probably by far the most challenging role I've had so far. But I appreciated that challenge because it allowed me in my journey as an actor, as creating a character, to really, become the character, and but all the while extremely uncomfortable. But it was about awareness of drug trafficking and what have you. So the message of the film is great, but yeah, he was a terrible guy.
Yeah, I remember when I had actor Robert Lasardo on the podcast. I don't know if you know him. He's a character actor. He's got a body covered like 90% tattoos, and he always
Oh,
played the
that
bad
story.
guys. Like he always played the killers and everything. But he's not really like that in real life. And
Yeah.
I've talked to a lot of actors, and just those roles where they have to be totally opposite of their own character. Um, but why do you do it? And it's like, because for the money, or because I'm an actor, I'm supposed to. But I always come up with things. If I was an actor, there are a few roles I would never do because I don't want to be remembered for them. Oh, look, this Chris, he's the serial killer. I don't want to be known as yet. Like, that's not what I do. But did you think that, is there like a character you've played that you feel a deep personal connection with?
Not yet. I mean, obviously, France, Sensei Team France was allowed me to tap into some things. You know, that was a great role to, yeah, to be in. Um, Not yet, but I got some things on the horizon, man, that are going to require more of me as an actor. You know, more ability to personify and dialogue, and so I'm looking forward to that. And I feel this next one coming is probably going to be the one that I own. I think. I mean, it's my character type. Um, the film writers seem to think I'm the guy for the role, and that's all I can say. I mean, it's a delight to talk to people about it, you know. But until it's something official, that's all you got, you know. So it's just
Yeah, I learned that you were in a movie called Beach Chain, but you were only in the background. Can you give me an idea what that character did in the background?
got murdered, I believe. Uh, it was a horror film filmed on a beach, and it was a great experience. However, it was an extremely grueling experience. Uh, some actors got taken for heat exhaustion. You know, it was just terrible, man. It was terribly warm. It was a great experience. However, I got to work with Jeremy Meeks, and I worked with him in Secret Society 2 and 3, and also Beach Chain. And the neat thing about that was when I first worked with him on Secret Society 2, I asked him for some advice, some tips, you know, for an aspiring actor, somebody wanting to break into acting. So I took his advice, you know, and next thing you know, I'm on two more film sets with him after I took his advice. So that was a significant part of the journey, if you will, you know. But yes, Beach Chain was, it was a lot of fun, but it was brutal. I can't deny that.
Someone by the name of Reggie T says, "Hey, Chris Brown, Reggie from North Fort Myers, Florida, is here, brother."
Hey Reggie, appreciate you tuning in tonight.
Hey,
Reggie
Reggie,
was
thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Much appreciative.
spent a lot of
You
time
got
in
a,
Reggie's world.
you got a lot of fans out there. So you were in Secret Society too, but you were in Secret Society 3 till death as a disabled inmate. Like,
Yes.
I've spoken to there's an actress by the name of Vanessa Nottingham. She does a Darman series, and I asked her about, which do whenever you, if you had to play like a disabled character, you would usually find a disabled actor to take over that character. But if you become disabled in the movie, then yeah, take it. Tell us about that disabled inmate character. It's a Secret
Well,
Society 3.
on Secret Society 2, just it kind of all goes together.
Mm-hmm.
Secret Society 2, they brought me in as a background uh, for a prison scene. It was shot in a day room of a prison, and the two main actors, Eddie Soto and Jeremy Meeks, were sitting down having a game of chess. So the background was made up of everyone in orange jumpsuits. We were prisoners. We were inmates. Um, I think there were like a dozen of us, maybe a dozen and a half. You know, there were corrections officers, and the only thing I had to do was be in a wheelchair. You know,
Mm.
and just kind of sit off camera. Well, not in Secret Society 2. I was the blurry background guy. You know, when you're in a movie, when it comes time to watch your background in a movie, you're like looking, where am I? Where am I? Anyway, I see myself blurry in Secret Society too, you know, so I'm like, wow, I made it on the big screen, you know, I'm blurry, but I'm there. So fast forward a year later, you know, I'm out doing life, doing my thing, you know, going to work, paying the bills, and I get a text message, and it was Secret Society. And shout out to Secret Society, by the way, Maasha Productions. Appreciate you guys. Hey, we're doing Secret Society 3. We want you to come back. So not only the year before did I become the blurry background guy, this year they called me back to be my character again. You know, it was like an honor to a degree. I was like, yeah, I'll be there. So long fast forward, we go and we film, you know, and however many months later it releases. And wouldn't you know, I wasn't blurry this time. There was a clear shot of me wheeling my wheelchair across, and there's a great still shot of me and Jeremy Meeks just, you know, kind of mean mugging each other, which was fitting for the prisoner character, you know. So anyway, yeah, it was that was a great experience, and there really was no getting into character. I was just a prisoner, you know, this, that, the other. But it was a great experience.
Um, how much of France Sensei at Seke Takei from Cobra Kai, how much of Chris is in that character?
Well, you know, all of me, 110%. It's hard to explain when when they yell action. You know, you're in that fight, you're in that tournament. You know what I mean? And we're from France, don't you know? You know, Vive la France. You know, we're there to win the Saikai Taikai. Long story short, obviously it doesn't work out that way. but I'm that guy, and I have a team of students that I hope gave 110% as well. You see, because in such an arena, if you don't give 110%, you're cheating yourself. You know what I mean? So yeah, I became that character, and you know, I tried to have that sullen, stern look, which isn't real hard for me. You know. So anyway, I really did. I had an opportunity to become that character. And mind you, the whole while, the surreality in my mind that I'm working with my childhood heroes here. You know what I'm saying? And it was just so much, Chris, you know. And again, for everybody else that had the privilege to be a part, you know, there was that surreal feeling, and just an aura. It was an aura of legend. I can't explain it.
Yeah, it's just that you have to. It kind of gives you, it humbles you, you know, when you become a certain character, especially when you become this character. In the Mexican Connection, you were a gunman. Did you have to go out and learn how to use a gun, or did they just hand you the gun? Like Chris, like how do you deal with ones like weapons and stuff like that?
Well, there's obviously safety on set. You know, weapons are checked, cleared with props and this, that, the third. Um, I didn't have to take any formal training. Of course, I know how to use a pistol, and I mean, I'm not saying I'm trained or certified or anything like that. But as far as any official like that on set, it was all about safety, making sure the props, you know, were legitimate and operable for filming. Aside from that, no, it was a pretty simple scene, and you know, it was very surreal experience in my journey as well. If I may elaborate, when I was a teenager, there was a film called Blood In, Blood Out,
Mm-hmm.
and I grew up in such an atmosphere. I lived in a Hispanic neighborhood. I later on fell into addiction and gangs in a Hispanic gang. So
Wow.
it it kind of bore witness with me as a teenager, you know.
Interesting
So
story.
anyway, well, after I put all that behind me and got my life right, you know, fast forward from that teen 35 years, and I had my first fight scene with Damian Chapa, who portrayed Miklo in the film Blood In, Blood Out. Thank you, Damian Chapa, for the opportunity to star opposite of you in Mexican Connection. It was another very surreal experience in my journey, you know, and it just it doesn't cease to amaze me, Chris. To be honest with you, you know, it's you get to a place where you're like, wow, I wonder what's next, what could be next, and you get up each day and you reach for what's next. It's pretty simple. I mean, sometimes nothing's next. Sometimes nothing's next for quite some time, you know. But you still get up and act like something's next, and it doesn't cease to amaze me. I'm blessed. I'm thankful. You know.
Yeah, you just never know when they're gonna be knocking on your door, not literally, and then give you a script, and you're like looking at it, thinking, "Oh my goodness, I can't do this character." Is there anybody that you will not play under any circumstances?
Uh, yeah, no rapist. I don't want any rapist character. Uh, any kind of molester or this that. No, none of that kind of thing. And you know, you mentioned that a bit ago about accepting a character. Um, I had an opportunity to be a character, and I was struggling with becoming this character because it was that psycho backwoods backwards,
Hmm.
you know, serial killer. And I went through a season wrestling with it because I really wanted the role, but I was like, do I really want to have this persona of a character? And I still, to this day, I still haven't accepted or declined. But I thought about it and I was like, wait a minute. You know, some of the greatest, for instance, Sling Blade came to mind, Billy Bob Thornton. Okay. That role is a far out role, you know? And I'm sure he probably even went through something like that in his mind. Do I really want to be? And that's what I begin to liken it to. I was like, well, you know what? Maybe it's not that bad of a deal. But of course, Billy Bob Thornton turned out to basically be a good guy, even though. But saying that to say, I didn't read the script the whole way through to find out what this guy became that I'm talking about. But you know, it was a stretch in my mind. Do I really want to have this character, be known for this character? So you know, obviously there are extenuating circumstances when it comes to accepting a character, if you will. I think.
Yeah, it's also preparing for a character. For instance, have you ever heard of method acting, where you take the character home with you, sort of like if you're a serial killer or rapist or whatever, you take that character home with you, and then your wife or your relationship is saying, don't come near me," or so, "Hey, look, he's a serial killer," you know,
Well,
and I don't know, I just if I was like, I like to be an actor, but I wouldn't want to portray anything like people say I do a good villain because I've done a lot of voice work and I can do pretty good Batman. I'm Batman, you know, but yeah, it's amazing just how you would prepare for a character. But how do you, Chris? How do you balance your personal life with your demanding career?
well, not that it's extremely demanding. I'll be honest with you. Most of my time that I'm not working and doing life, as I call it, I'm networking, you know, emailing, getting headshots, you know, reading scripts, preparing for auditions. So it's not always, but there's always something to do, but it's not, you know what I mean? It's not grueling per se. It is demanding um, to make time. But if you're okay with making time for that thing, you know, you can balance it. I I'm a contract detailer, Tomlinson Motor Company, Gainesville, Florida. Appreciate you guys. I go to work, and if my hands, I don't punch a clock. I'm a contractor, so if my hands stop moving, I stop making money. So I'm used to being constantly in motion, if you will. So you just you got to learn how to balance, put what priorities. You know what I'm trying to say? And sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes, like, I'll be honest with you, we spent 5 weeks filming Cobra Kai, and towards the end, I mean, I loved it. Don't get me wrong, but towards the end, the travel, you know, paying the accommodations and waiting to get paid, if you will. Um, yeah, bro, it's exhausting, and it. My hats off to everybody that they know. They understand the struggle too, the demands, the sacrifices. Yeah.
Okay, we all know that you work with Ralph Macchio and Martin Covey and the lovely, lovely oh Elizabeth Shue. Who would be your ultimate collab? Who would you like to collaborate with in the movie?
From Cobra Kai.
No, anybody, like anybody, celebrity, or who would you like to act in with?
You know, William Zabka, bro. I'm just gonna say it. I'd like to
Really?
work with William Zabka in a film. Yeah,
Oh wow.
yeah. Bruce Willis.
Well, he doesn't act anymore, sadly.
I know. Well, I'll put Bruce. He was one of my motivators. The Die Hard roles. The Last Boy Scout. Great film. A lot of good Bruce Willis stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. Who would be your biggest influences in the acting industry besides what you mentioned? Anybody else?
Well, Martin Cove is my favorite villain. I don't think I've ever met a better villain than Martin Cove. So, as a villain role, he inspires me. Thomas Ian Griffith inspires me. Silver,
Hmm.
you know, and of course, that's just it's been the greatest experience of my journey. So not to take away from any, there's so many people that I've had privilege to work with, and network with, and I always like to look at it as, you know, they all held the door for me, and allowed me to get to where I've gotten to. Um, and that's just the way, every opportunity, saying that to say every opportunity has been amazing to me, and I'm grateful for it. But yeah, I definitely would like to continue in my journey. I've been 2019, 5 years now. I've been on this track, and I'd like to continue with the momentum I have, and I continue to learn, and refine my craft, and just move in the networks. And
What uh, what advice would you give to aspiring actors, people who want to be the next Christy Roberts?
um, believe in yourself. Be willing to unlearn as much as you're willing to learn. There's some things to change. There's some things to learn new. Uh, when I was standing, just a brief story from standing in line at MegaCon tonight, or this afternoon. I was waiting to get William Zabka's autograph, and someone came. It was a great experience. We interacted with the fans in the line waiting to get autographs, and some of the fans wanted to take photos with me and Eduardo as senseis from season 6. That was a great honor. But I remember, as the line got a little closer, I stood in line. Once it started moving, we stood in line for another 30 minutes, waiting to get our autographs. And I was the next guy to go up and see William Zapka and get my picture signed that we took behind the scenes on set this year or last year. And a lady walked over to me, and it was a friend, Ali Soto. And she said something to me. She had her daughter with her, who was cast as one of the Karate Kids in the Cobra Kai season 6. And she looked over to me and she said, "Kris, thank you. She wouldn't have been here if it wasn't for you." Just the beauty of giving it away, passing it along. I don't know where I was going with that, but I just wanted to express that, it's everybody along the way has been significant. And basically you keep what you got, you keep giving away, you pay it forward. Every opportunity begets an opportunity, every network begets a network. And next thing you know, people have heard of somebody like Kris D Roberts from Northwest Pennsylvania, who didn't start his acting career until he was in his early 40s. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I totally
So
understand that. I know there are people 60, 70, 80 years old who are just starting their acting career, and they're doing well. Like 10 years ago, they were just nobody, and now they're like, oh yeah, he's great. So it doesn't matter how old you are. Um, Kris, how do you stay motivated and inspired in your career?
well, like I shared briefly earlier about that whole what's next, you know, kind of believing that anything is possible. Um, Sometimes that's hard to believe because it don't look like it. Some things will be looking impossible, like, oh, that could never happen. And once they start happening, Kris, you hold on to that, and you're like, you know what? You start going at it with an expectation. And I'm not talking about film in general. I'm talking about life in general. You know what I'm trying to say? So that helps me to stay motivated on a daily basis. I don't get too far out ahead of myself because I realize I have tomorrow. I have right now at this moment, but tomorrow's its own day. You see what I mean? So I don't know. I just one day at a time, and with as highest aspirations as possible. And guess what? Some days that's like 25% of me. So yeah, it's not always easy. Sometimes you're down a few days. Sometimes you have a bad week, but then you come back.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Some days I want to wake up in the morning and it's like, what am I doing this for? Why am I going to work? Why am I doing this? And then you do it, and then suddenly something beautiful happens during the day, and you're like, okay, well, then it's good that I came then. So, is there any time, Kris, when you just, what am I doing this for? Just give it all up?
Just the other day.
Oh, yeah?
So anyway, rookie mistake. When I seen MegaCon was coming to Orlando, and I seen Cobra Kai was going to be there, I said to myself, let me get the tickets for Thursday, the opening day of the show, because they're the least expensive. So I went ahead and got me a Thursday ticket, and I planned on it for 2 weeks, getting to Orlando, to meet up with the cast and say hello and get some autographs and whatnot. Well, I got there Thursday. I left Gainesville, 2-hour drive. I get there, I pay for parking, I purchased my ticket, and Stingray was there. I didn't realize the whole cast wasn't going to be there until today. So I drove clear to Orlando, and again, it was my mistake. I should have, you know, read the fine print, if you will, that when they appear, not that it's the fine print, but anyway, I got the tickets for Thursday because I wanted to to get them, to have it, to say I got them, I'm going. Okay, so I get Thursday. Well, long story short, the cast, most of the cast went, well, a majority, all but one, you know. So when I found that out, man, my gut hit the floor. I took off work. I got paid early, and I was like, oh no. So I kind of tucked my tail. I got in my car and I drove 2 hours back to Gainesville. And just last night, man, I was tossing and turning. I was like, because see, I was supposed to ride with somebody Thursday. That fell through. That didn't end up happening. So I was already saying, there's no way I can't go. You see? So I went. Well, I came back. I slept, tossed and turned, and said, you know what? I'm going back today. So I went back today. But yeah, man, there's days where like yesterday I was telling myself, I was like, what am I doing? You know? Uh there's days where, you know, the job's going good. Things are, even when things are good and you're still kind of like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? So it's six one, half dozen of the other. You know, you're gonna have good days, you're gonna have bad days. But if your roots, I mean, if you got a good foundation, if you got, you know, you got people in your network that are, you know, bringing you into projects, you know, giving you auditions and you know, kind of helping you along, you're helping other people along. Like I said, that woman came up to me and said, if it wasn't for you, my daughter wouldn't have been in this. Bro, I had a part of helping someone else's dream come true. Are you kidding me? Man, that's, you know what that's called? That's called wealthy, man. The experiences in this thing are, bar none, the greatest ever.
Yeah. How did the do you think that the fires in LA actually affected you in any way?
God, those poor folks, man.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we all felt LA, man. You know.
Yeah. I can imagine. So, what about the SAG and after strike? I think that must have affected you in some way. That it left you without any work, I believe.
Well, as a non-union actor, I still had, you know, I was still working with independent filmmakers and film crews, and um, there's only been a couple SAG projects I've actually had the privilege to be on. But yeah, I'm a non-union guy at the moment. May change one day, but in the meantime, you know, I mean, it affected everybody in acting. By and large, it was a topic that definitely affected the industry. You know, the whole way across, up, down. But saying that to say, as a non-union guy, I was still able to book roles and this, that, and the third. You know, be on sets and still working in the industry. But yeah, it was a good thing to see it settled, obviously.
I can imagine, Chris. Basically, part of the reason for the strike, for the SAG after strike, is body scanning, using AI to body scan an actor and actress and use that image in the movie. Would you want them to body scan you and use your image in a movie, and you don't have to do anything but just sit there? But you probably won't get paid for it. What do you feel about AI?
Uh, when I think of AI, I think of iRobot.
Yeah, exactly. With Will Smith. Oh yeah.
That's always like my little remark on it. Somebody's post. If it's anything AI, I'll put the iRobot guy glaring at Will from behind. You know. But anyway, I mean, that's that's not even in my wheelhouse right now. You know, I don't really have a dog in that fight, man. I understand it from their side, from the people that don't want that done. I totally get it.
Yeah, Isaac Asimov, the famous author, said that the problem with robots, one day they become sentient. With the artificial intelligence, first of all, you have AI, and then you have artificial general intelligence, with AGI. It's the ASI that people are worried about, the artificial superintelligence, which is where you're going to get sentient AI that you just want an AI to make decisions for you. Oh, I don't like this city. Let's blow it up. That's basically the worry that AI is going to do something, and that it might take over your job. In fact, forget you working. Let's just body scan you, and then we'll put your image in movies, and we'll pay you pennies. It's changing, my friend. Especially with music. You got Suno, you got Udio, um, creating music without bands, doing it on your own. World is changing. It's too bad too, because I preferred the '70s and '80s when everything was done pre-computers.
Sure.
My friend, wow, that's amazing. Yeah, but this is taxing on your mental health, having to go back and forth to get autographs to this place, and all these acting positions that you need to do. How do you deal with your mental health so you don't become like insane? Like, what do you do? What are some things you do?
Yeah, go get a psycho roll.
That'll cancel everything
No,
out.
man. I exercise. I try to eat healthy. My sleep is spotty. Obviously I got to get up at 5 in the morning. I'm at work in the morning, so I'm good for about 6 hours of sleep a night. Good sleep, good diet, vitamins, supplements. And the reason why I was kind of apprehensive at first about working out and exercise, I just started back in the gym, so I'm getting back in that. It's a habitual lifestyle. Those watching could probably understand when you spend a time out of the gym and then you get back in, and I guess the goal is to not have to get back in, to just stay. So I'm working on that. I mean, I'm back in the swing. Um, I'll leave work, go to the gym for an hour or so, commute 45 minutes home. So my day is shot. By the time I walk through the door, I hit the showers, a quick meal, and a little TV, a little entertainment, and I'm back at it for my 6 hours of sleep to go back at it tomorrow. But I love what I do, man. I'm an auto detailer, so it gives me a chance to. I like to be hyper focused. I like to focus on my work. I take a lot of pride in my work. I mean, I don't just wash cars. I buff paint. I wet sand and polish, buff and polish. I restore headlights. So it's kind of funny how you were mentioning AI, and I'm like, ain't no AI doing my job. But
Oh,
yeah, it can be taxing, man. But I find self awareness, and just working on Chris, because Chris messes up a lot. You know what I mean? We all do. None of us got it together. So I got plenty of time to work on myself, mind my business, and just try to improve. That that's one of my goals each day, even if it's just 1%. I read somewhere one time, if we can improve 1% a day in a year, we've improved 365% in essence. And another thing about that 1% a day, if you miss the mark, you know, you don't get a zero, you still get a percent. You know what I'm trying to say? Even if you only gain 1%, it adds up. So
that's interesting. Yeah. If you enjoy that, do you enjoy acting more than auto detailing? You think there'll be a time when you can just leave auto detailing behind and get into full time acting?
Well, I mean, that is the goal. Um, it's the whole waiting. It's wondering when, not not necessarily when, but I'm saying like how long. It's hard to explain what I'm trying to say. Is it gonna happen? When it could happen? You know, and that goes. That's why I always go back to that philosophy that I shared twice now. Each day getting up, what's next? You know, keeping that attitude helps me to continue motivated, you know, working on everything we've talked about. And you can't, when you're doing those things, you can't help but have a good attitude because you're striving, man. You're reaching, and you start to have these along the ways, we'll call them. I won't say like anything in particular, but everything that happens along the way is you are even striving for that 1% a day, per se. You know, it just, that keeps me motivated because I know I ran into a couple people I know at MegaCon. We're talking about making films, man. That's what we do now. You know what I mean? And it's funny because we started as background actors on sets that we met. I've had the privilege of helping cast, like part of the cast of Secret Society 3. I had privilege of bringing in. You know, these are my friends from the Florida film industry, and now they're reaching down and bringing me into stuff. You know, it's a beautiful thing. Appreciate everybody in the Florida film industry, Georgia film industry, obviously Hollywood, LA. You know,
You mentioned about focusing on your job. Is there easy to balance your personal life with the demands of your acting?
absolutely. You know, I got to stay present, Chris. I think that's where a lot of my fulfillment comes by just staying present, not thinking about tomorrow, not thinking about next week. Obviously, it's we all think about it, but to just stay present right now. You know, how can I do what I'm doing better right now? You know, or how can I be the best employee I can be right now instead of fretting about what I have to do next or what could come next, what may or may not, you know, what could happen. I try to stay present, and that too helps the whole balance equation because I'm not too far out here wondering about that or too far back there wondering about that. You see, I'm right here, I'm right now, I'm putting the balance into my day, I'm allotting time to do this, that, the third. And it's like planting seeds, man. It's even if it's just 1% a day. And again, some days you're gonna have those, just that's all you get by with, just that 1%, but you got by.
Yeah, I remember my friend Neil kind of changed it. Like I've known him since 86, 1986. So we were like sort of in high school age. And he always said to me, you may not be able to give 100%, but if you give 10% of yourself, give 100% of that. So that kind of was interesting take on things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tell you what, man, I had a job. We talked about my work history a little bit, acting, this, that. I had a job working as a civilian contractor for the United States Army.
Wow.
I was what's called a role player. So technically, it was an acting job. I see. I tried to go to the Navy when I was in my early 20s, and I was disqualified for my eyesight. Even though when I was talking to my recruiter, it was pre 9/11, and he told me to stay ready to go to boot camp after I got a bad mark on my eyesight at the ASVAB, or I'm sorry, at the MEPS test. He said, "Stay ready, we'll get you in." So I was out riding a bike. I'd ride, I'd swim. I was on my way home, and it was the morning of 9/11, 2001.
Mm.
And I thought to myself, I'm like, oh, I get to go serve my country because my whole family was military,
Oh,
U.S.
wow.
Navy. So when that happened, I thought for sure I'd get my medical waiver. Well, lo and behold, I ended up getting what's called a PDQ, a permanent disqualified medical for eyesight.
Oh,
So I took that pretty hard for a couple few years there because all I wanted to do was I wanted to go serve, you know. So 3 years, just about 3 years after that, the opportunity came, and what I actually did is I worked as a civilian contractor for Cubic Defense out of San Diego, California. Um, we were contracted to go train soldiers pre-deployment at Fort Polk, Louisiana, JRTC training base. So every day I would go to work. It was war games. I went to work dressed in Middle Eastern garb, and I was a character. Sometimes my character was to be a terroristic character, and then I would be engaged. I I would be blown up. I would be shot. These kinds of
oh,
things. But at the same, well, we used laser gear, Miles gear, it was called. But anyway, at the same time, I was that character. You know, I was that sketchy dude in the corner. But before go time, I was sitting in the shed playing poker and stuff with the special forces boys. So you know, everything that happened a few years ago, being disqualified, was redeemed. You know, here I am sitting beside these are combat decorated soldiers playing cards and smoking cigars, you know. And when the trainees would come through, these guys would come alive and attack them. So it was
whoa.
like the best. It was like the best of both worlds, you know. I'm hanging out with some elite people, and then I'm allowed to go help them train these other guys too. It was phenomenal. So just more of my part of my journey along the way.
Yeah. You get a lot of adrenaline flowing through you, especially when you're there you think you're being chased by someone who's going to like. I can imagine what it was like in World War I, World War II, and Afghanistan, and some of the things that happen, especially when you come home and you're missing limbs and stuff. But for me, the best thing I can mention is that when I was doing a laser tag, the adrenaline that was going through me because I was hiding from people and I wanted to stay alive for at least a half an hour, and I was gunned down by 11-year-old. But anyway, but that's beside the point. Just a little thing there. So Chris, is there like that's interesting story that you mentioned? Wow, military. Oh yeah, they'll let you go if your eyes don't work, or yeah, they even police officers, if you can't hear, you can't see, then you can get disqualified because they want you to have perfect vision. They want you to have perfect um, hearing. So it's difficult when that happened to you because you, not that you would want to be part of the 9/11. That was terrible, but for you to be disqualified, knowing what happened there, it was still like, why was it disqualified? I want to help people, and then you're not able to. I can imagine what was going through your head.
Well, I've been blessed though. You know, I've been to I worked in recovery. You know, I've done a lot of I worked in the medical field, so I've always been able to 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 serve. You know what I mean? In one way or another. But yeah, the military was definitely high up on my list of aspirations. So when
Wow,
I was told I couldn't, and 3 years later I was given the opportunity I was given, it was a blessing for sure. Mhm.
it's amazing. Is there a dream role or genre you haven't tackled yet but would love to? Like, what would be your ultimate dream role?
Uh, you know, something like a Vincent D'Onofrio, like Law and Order role, or a
Oh,
Christopher
wow.
Nolan
Yes,
film,
definitely. Vincent's great.
something like that, or make me a district attorney, or something,
SVU.
or an attorney, defense attorney, something,
I'll call
some
Mariska
kind of.
Hargitay to get you on her show.
Yeah, please do. I've admired Mariska for years. In fact, just amazing talent. Her and her cast.
I'm sure you'll get something huge pretty soon, but you want to put your name in the books, you know? Um, do you have a favorite role so far that you played that you enjoyed and that you wish you could play more of? Besides Cobra Kai, of course, everyone wants to be on there.
Um, maybe more police roles where I don't get shot or killed.
Okay. Adam 12, but that's no longer on.
Oh man,
Nobody
that's a
got killed
great
on that
show.
show.
That's a great show. Shout out to Kevin Phillips, my stepdad. He loves him some Adam 12, man, and I learned to love it too.
Yeah. Um, so how do you handle criticism and negative feedback about your acting? Like, Chris, that
Uh,
was terrible. You could have played a little bit better. Or how do you deal with it?
well, usually you deal with it until you get it right. You know, um, under the proper direction, they'll get what they want. It may take 7 hours to get a few scenes. I don't know. Uh, how does anybody deal with criticism? First, you don't internalize it. Well, maybe first you consider the source. I might have them two mixed up.
Yeah.
And then you discern the viability of it and use it to your advantage. I mean, if it's to benefit you, by all means, you know. However, if it's just passive aggression from somebody, and you should know, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I had to deal with a lot of that at work at some points. But you just it's a long story, but I worked with a guy and just I didn't like my job. I wanted to stay at home because of the way he treated me. And finally, after so many years, we were able to get rid of him. And the first day I got back to work and he wasn't there anymore, it felt like I had just been born again. It was just amazing. It's like I started loving my job. I didn't have to worry about being afraid and yeah,
Yeah, no one should have to have that feeling,
no.
especially
But
in the
apart
workplace.
Yeah, but apart from being bullied in school, I think I'm pretty well. I haven't had anybody that really sincerely hated me or wanted me gone, except maybe because I'm a Christian. Maybe the devil wants me gone, but he's everyone's enemy. So, um, so what? So, as an actor, what is it you enjoy most?
Character development.
Tell me more about that.
Well, it's that time we talked about earlier where you become the character, you break down the scene, you're learning about how you're influenced by each person in the room or in the scene with you. What do you want from them? What do they want from you? So there's really multi tiers to this, and then you learn your backstory. I was offered a role one time and I turned it down, man.
Oh,
I I liked the script and everything. And so I was trying to build a backstory for this character to try to understand how he's coming into this scene. where's he coming from? What's his story? What 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 angel, what demons on which shoulder? What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And the director told me the character didn't have a backstory, and I disagreed with him because every character has a backstory. I got to have a backstory, even if I have to create my own backstory with your approval of that backstory. You can't just come out of nowhere with this character. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're right.
And it was just it was a bad experience because I was expressing to the director, hey, you know, the method I'm studying right now teaches me my character has to have a backstory. All I'm asking you is for a back. And he was being extremely short, and he's like, 15 other people love this script, and blah blah. I've talked with 15 other people; they love this script, and I'm like, well, why can't you give me 5 minutes of your time and help me give this character a backstory? And it just continued to be, oh, that character don't have a backstory. So I was like,
Oh,
okay,
wow.
I would rather not work with you. Thank you. But yeah, and I did a podcast with this individual, and I went looking for the podcast, and it had been deleted. So I mean, not everybody you meet's your friend. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta, whether it's work, life, you just gotta roll with it. And it's it's a harsh reality that it's of the world we live in. You
Yeah, I
mentioned about
understand, Chris. I understand. Yeah, everyone has a backstory, and I know that when I was younger, when I started writing short stories, I had to make sure that every character in the short story had a backstory, even if I
right.
made one up. Even if I said, "Oh, they were born on a starship," I had to have like a backstory, and it made sense that I'm putting Charlie Smith in the story whose father, when he was younger, he was a space alien or something,
And his
so you
nickname
have to
was
have
Ted.
you have so it works out like that. But then there's a character you want to have where it's like it's mystery character, and throughout the whole series, you're giving a little bit more of their backstory. But they come in and they're silent, they're dark, you don't know who they are, and nothing is mentioned about who they are, why they're there, and then like I've seen that several times. There's some stories with a character you want to keep tuning into the story and watching it because it's fascinating because there's one character's you're beginning to understand more and more about him, and then at the very end of the series, wow, I wasn't expecting that, right?
Nobody's seen
So
that coming, right? Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
great writing.
Um, yeah, do you think your acting style has evolved over the years, Chris?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I learn of Sanford Meisner, Stanislavski. I dibble and dabble from a little bit of it all and just apply it when I'm on set. Um, I like to think it's certainly improved. I mean, from when I began in 2019, the roles that I've had that were supporting, I think each opportunity I was able to learn on set. I have no formal training at this point. However, there's a lot of great actors that don't.
Hmm.
Not to make excuses to not have acting training, I definitely should pursue some stuff. Um, but it's just each experience is a learning experience, and you learn more. And as I said, I compile numerous methods and learn from numerous sources. So can't do nothing but improve.
Do you see a career evolving in the next few years? Even more.
I thought about it in November was the last time I visited this school of thought, and November was right towards the end of November was the 5th year into this. And I looked back, and Cobra Kai being a part of that, and all the numerous other significant projects I've been fortunate to be a part of. And I couldn't help but ask myself, man, I can't wait to see what the next 5 years has. You know, why not?
Do you think you did a good job in Cobra Kai? Because are they calling you back for more and more? And because if I was an actor and I was able to work alongside the famous Ralph Macchio, I would definitely do the best job I can so I get a chance to work with him again. And Elizabeth Shue, if you
I mean, absolutely. I would love to work with him again. This is the final season, however, that doesn't mean there couldn't be opportunity in the future. And that goes back to, you know, one of my days before, I think it was the day before I was leaving to go to Atlanta, and it's 5 hours from Gainesville, four and some change from Gainesville, Florida to Atlanta. And a couple girls that had gotten support, or I'm sorry, extra roles, background roles on Cobra Kai, they asked me, they're like, is it worth it? And I thought about it a second because I've had that thought, I was like, hold on a minute, let me. And the answer came to me, and it was pretty simple. I was like, I asked them back, have you ever been on Netflix? And they must have sat there and thought to themselves, wow, I missed that. You know, I forgot the question. I'm getting off on a tangent here.
that's fine.
Um,
That's fine. This is free, so it's free
but what I'm saying
stream.
is they questioned it. They're like, is it worth it? And just absolutely. I answered them. I says, have you been on Netflix before? And I think they both ended up being on the show. I just Ralph Macchio, man, I'll
Ralph
never
Macchio.
forget. I'll never forget looking him in his eyes, and I'm on the same karate mat with this man that I seen him on when I was 7,
I know.
and he's cheesing at me, and I'm cheesing at him, and we shake hands and smile and greet one another. And I said, man, thanks for framing my childhood. And he just looked over at me and he said, thanks for being here, with the biggest smile on his face. And to just be in that, you know, to just be in that atmosphere was so phenomenal. And again, saying that to say, if that's what happened over this past 5 years, bring on the next, man. Because you know what? I'm going to keep going to work. I'm gonna keep doing what I gotta do, and I'm gonna keep seeking opportunities, and that's how you get them. You know, it's a
Yeah.
foolproof plan, Chris. It's a foolproof plan.
Yep.
So, and again, we talked about the challenges and the struggles on my social media. So many other people in the film industry. I got people out in Vermont way, people all over the world in this acting, in this acting industry, and they're always encouraging you, and they always understand what it's like. They're checking on you. And then, like I say, you just keep plugging along, even if it's 1%, 25%, 100%. You just keep plugging along, and it might be months, it might be a year later, but something's knocking, and it's from somebody you worked with and had an excellent, experience with working with. You create that camaraderie. Well, next thing you know, they're reaching out to you. Hey, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. I got a film role for you, and you're just like, oh yeah, that's where I wanted to be.
Oh
How'd
yeah.
you know? How'd you know I wanted to be working in film in Atlanta? How'd you know? Because that's where he wants to be. And we've been there together. You know what I mean? It's the networking thing is a beautiful thing. And to
Yeah.
just I met a gentleman in line today at MegaCon, and like I said, the fans were like, "Oh, you guys are part of the show," and they were taking pictures with us. It was a phenomenal honor, man. Uh, but as William Zabka come out, I got a picture of him and I that I got signed today. I don't know if you guys can see that.
Oh wow, yeah. Yep.
He actually signed it with lyrics from Karate Kid 1 by Bill Conti. You're the best. Um, that's one of my favorite songs. And it motivates me. It pumps me. I like the gym with that song, and I'm not. But anyway, I grew up to that song, and to have Johnny Lawrence sign my photo of him and I, that's something I dreamed of when I was 7 years old. You know what I mean? And it's like I can't encourage people, youngins, teenagers, kids, teens, even people my age, just keep dreaming, keep reaching. Um, because if you're reaching, you're gonna get there, and it's not easy all the time. Yeah, I feel this this whole Rocky speech coming on. You're gonna take a licking,
Or like Timex watches, take a licking, keep on ticking.
bro. I think it was Wayne Gretzky. They'd strap an Iron Man watch on a hockey puck,
I saw that
and
one. I saw
he'd
that
slap
commercial.
shot
Yeah.
it, and the Iron Man watch would hold up to it.
That was a powerful commercial.
Yeah.
I wanted to actually, hopefully, I can show a photo of here. I actually, back in 1986, my brother lives in Toronto, so back in 1986, I went visiting him, and oh, where is it? Lo and behold, I was turning a corner on one of the streets. I think it was Yonge Street, and I bump into. Oh shoot! I wish I had it accessible because it's going to be kind of odd for me looking down at my phone here. Um, it was I bumped into Martin Sheen, actor Martin Sheen,
Nice.
and
Wow.
there's a picture of me. I wish I could find it here. Picture of me and him together, and oh shoot, I'm gonna waste people's time looking through my phone here.
I'm
Uh,
actually watching a Charlie Sheen film right now. Platoon.
yeah, here. So this is the picture that we'd taken. Me and Martin Sheen back in 1986.
Hey, that's awesome.
I was 21 years old. He was 59, and he was in Toronto filming the movie The Believers.
Nice.
So yeah, and it was kind of coincidence because what was my brother doing with the camera that day? So it's sort of like this is something for you to remember me. That's what God said,
Yeah,
because
that's
but
a
so yeah,
synchronicity. Hmm.
and it's just amazing. One of my favorite photos. Sorry, everyone, if you saw me looking through my phone. It's like this guy, Um, Chris, before we end the stream, I got a couple more questions. One is, so what do you think is the most important quality for an actor to have?
Resilience.
Can you elaborate on that one a bit?
Um, you're gonna get told no a lot. Uh, you'll be told we're going a different direction. I mean, don't get me wrong. You're gonna book roles. You're gonna book roles. You're gonna, you know, but sometimes the rejections come. So sometimes that's discouraging. I don't know.
Do you think humor is one of them and willing to succeed and stick to itness? You think that's important?
Yeah, yeah. Humor. Got to be able to laugh at yourself sometimes. You got to be able to own your own, if you will, sweep your own side of the street. You're going to have to sacrifice. So yeah, it's a whole lot of resilience. I mean, to fall down, to get back up, try again, reach further, reach outside of your comfort zone, live outside of your comfort zone. Lots of qualities, especially, I mean, it seems like the more you experience it's just such as life, you're whittling your character along the way, if you will. Takes a
Yeah.
lot, man. You're going to build a lot of character. So
So what do you see? Final question. What do you see as yourself 5 years from now, 10 years from now? What's your ultimate goal, motivation?
you know, I'm content. I'm content with what I've experienced up to this point, and I think that's an important thing. Um, I don't know. Like I was saying earlier, if what happened over this past 5 years has the potential to happen and multiply over the next 5 years, that's what I want to see in them 5 years and 10 years. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
That's I got that expectation because now I have some substance. Does that make sense?
Yep.
You know, I mean, I say that humbly because there's people that have a whole lot more substance than me. But anyway, I began gathering substance from that first credit. And that's another thing I can use to people need to encourage themselves. Celebrate the small wins. Celebrate the small victories. You know, if you're anything like me, you probably beat yourself up sometimes. So just learn to celebrate along the way. It's important.
I know I had a few opportunities that I missed out because I was afraid to step forward or whatever. But so I understand what you're talking about. Well, everyone, everything about Kris D. Roberts is listed below in the description there. Thank you so much, Kris, for joining us today and sharing your fascinating journey and insights. It's been a pleasure, absolute pleasure, getting to know more about your experiences, passion you bring to your roles. Is there any final last word? Everyone, get your questions in. Let's have a few questions to ask Kris before we go. Is there any final words, Kris, that you'd like to share with our audience?
Um, I want to thank everybody that has followed and supported Kris D. Roberts along the way. Um, there's far too many to tag or to name. The recovery community. Um, just grateful for everybody that helped me along the way and continues to follow, support me along the journey.
Yeah, well, Kris, we can't wait to see what the future holds for you and look forward to your upcoming projects. I was just going to wait a few seconds. Anybody want to send at least one or two questions so Kris you can answer because we're going to end this stream and then the doors closed. So, to our audience, thank you for tuning in and stay tuned for more exciting interviews. And don't forget to follow Kris on his social media channels
Thank you.
to keep up with his latest updates. Until next time, take care and stay inspired. Okay, everyone, we're going to end this stream. Um, really appreciate the opportunity to interview you, Kris, and
Thanks,
looking
Chris.
forward to any future collaborations. We might have you on again. But yeah, so yeah, you have it's a live stream, so basically you have the link right there. Um, so okay, everyone, see ya.
Thank you, everyone.